So hi everyone, my name is Shivam Bohra. Welcome to Learn Comparative Programming with CodeChef. So if you are interested in comparative programming and want to learn and master data structures and algorithms, then this is a one-stop destination for you. Here we post weekly problem explanations, conceptual videos on various programming paradigms, and also conduct live problem-solving sessions. So before we actually get started, here's a reminder for you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already yet. So in this video, we'll see the implementation part of loops in C++. Now make sure that you have already watched the video which is on the conceptual part of loops. The link is in the description for that. Make sure that you watch it first before watching this video. So let's get started. So firstly, I'll give you a very quick recap of what loops actually are. So a loop is basically a set of instructions repeating itself again and again under a given condition. Now this set of instructions could be anything like a print statement, some calculations, some functions, etc. or any other statement, right? So a loop is basically a set of instructions repeating itself again and again under a given condition. So let's say if that set of instruction is a print statement, so it will keep on printing again and again until that given condition is false, right? So a loop basically consists of three parts, which is initialization, base condition, and updation. Now we'll see what these three actually are through this flowchart of printing the first 50 natural numbers, right? So this flowchart is used to print all the natural numbers starting from 1 and ending at 50, right? Here we can see that since I have to start from 1, hence I'll initialize the value of I by 1, and this is under the initialization part, set I equals to 1. Then I'll check the base condition whether I is less than or equals to 50 or not, right? So this condition is the base condition, right? If it is true, then I'll simply print I. Initially I is 1, so firstly I'll print 1, right? Then I'll update, change, or increment the value of I, or I'll simply alter the value of I, right? I'll change the value of I. So this would be under the updation part. We are updating the value of I. If I was previously 1, then now it has incremented by 1, so now it will become 2, right? Again it will go back, again it will check the base condition, which is I is less than or equals to 50 or not. Again this is true because I is 2, 2 is less than 50, so this time it will print 2. Again it will change the value of I to 3. Next time it will again check the condition, again print 3, and this will continue, and the last number to be printed over here is 50. So it will print all the numbers starting from 1 and ending at 50. So here this is the initialization part, this is the base condition, and this is the updation part. Now we'll make the exact same program or code in C++ to print all the numbers starting from 1 and ending at 50. So now we'll see a C++ program to print the first 50 natural numbers, right? So the first thing is that I'll use loop to print these first 50 natural numbers. And the first thing with loops is that a loop consists of three parts, out of which the first part is initialization, right? So what I will do is I'll initialize a variable called as count by 1. This is because we are starting from 1. Hence I'll initialize count equals to 1, or I'll initialize count by 1, right? After initialization, we have the base condition, right? Now to use a loop, what I will do is I'll write while and round braces, and within these two round braces I'll write my base condition. So my condition should be count should be less than or equals to 50, right? And then I'll have my curly braces open, and within these two curly braces I'll write some statements or some instructions that are going to be repeated again and again. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to print count. So what I will do is I'll write cout count, cout count, right? And after this, I have to update the value of count. So for that, what I will do is I'll write count equals to count plus 1, right? We can also use count plus plus alternatively. So both these statements, count equals to count plus 1 or count plus plus, are exactly the same, right? So you can also write count plus plus. So after this, what will happen is initially if the value of count is 1, so it will check whether 1 is less than or equals to 50 or not. So 1 is less than 50, hence it is true. So it will come inside the loop. First it will print count. So firstly it will print 1, right? Then it will change the value of count. So if count was earlier 1, then now it will become 2. So now 1 has become 2. Again it will go back. Again it will check whether count is less than or equals to 50 or not. Count is 2. 2 is less than 50. Hence it is again true. So this time it will again print count. So this time it will print 2, right? Again it will update the value of count. So this time again it will change the value of count from 2 to 3. Again it will go back. Again it will check whether 3 is less than or equals to 50 or not. Again 3 is less than 50. So this time it will again print 3 and so on. So this will keep on printing the numbers till 50, right? So if I run this code, I'll get all the numbers starting from 1 and ending at 50. Of course, this doesn't look so good. So what I will do is I will put an extra space. I will put an extra space after this count. So what this will do is this will separate each of these count by a single space. So we can see that we have put an extra space over here. So now my output would look something like this: 1, then space, then 2, then space, then 3, then space, and so on. Each and every number would be separated by a single space, right? So if I run this code, then this time my output is space separated. We can see that each and every number is separated by a single space. So this is basically how while loop actually works, right? Now while is not the only kind of loop that we have in C++. We also have the do while loop and the for loop. So next, let's see how the do while loop and the for loop actually works. So now let's see how the do while loop actually works. So firstly, I'll remove this while and I'll write do. And at the end of this curly braces, I'll write while and the condition and a semicolon, right? So basically this is how we write a do while loop. Now let's understand how the do while loop actually works. So we can see that firstly we have initialized count equals to 1. Then we are not even checking the condition and we are directly going inside the loop or the do while loop. So I'll directly go inside the loop and I'll simply go inside the loop and I'll simply print the count. Count is initially 1, so I'll simply print 1. Then I'll update the value of count. So it will update the value of count from 1 to 2. So now the value of count is 2, right? And after that, what I will do is I'll simply check the condition whether my count is less than or equals to 50 or not. Count is 2, 2 is less than 50, so it will again go back inside the loop. So this time it will print 2. This time it will print 2, right? And so on. So if I run this program, I'll get the exact same output which I got in the while loop, right? So this is basically how the do while loop actually works. And another important thing is that we can see that in the while loop, firstly we are checking the condition, then we are going inside the loop, right? So this type of loop is called as entry control loop. While on the other hand, in do while loop, firstly we are going inside the loop, then we are checking the condition. So this type of loop is called as exit control loop, right? So the do while loop is called as an exit control loop, and the while loop is called as entry control loop. And let's say if my count is 51 in the while loop, then what will happen is, firstly, I'll initialize count equals to 51. It will check the base condition. The base condition is false because 51 is neither less than nor equal to 50. Hence it is false. So it won't even execute any of these statements, right? So if I run this program, then I won't even get an output, right? But on the other hand, if let's say my count is initially 51, then what will happen is, it won't even check the condition for the first time. It will directly execute the statements which are inside the loop, and then it will check the condition. So this time I will get at least one number, or this loop will run at least once, right? So basically this is how the do while loop actually works. Now we can see that in the while loops, we are writing the initialization, the base condition, and the updation part all in different lines. What if we could write all of them together in the same line? So let's say I want to write the initialization, condition, and the updation part on the same line. Then for that, what I can do is I can simply write a for loop. So in the for loop, firstly, I'll have my initialization part, then a semicolon, then a condition part, and then the updation part. So let's say I have to print the first 50 natural numbers. So firstly, I'll write my initialization part. So I'll write int count equals to 1, semicolon. Then the condition. So my condition is count should be less than or equals to 50, right? Then the updation. So in the updation part, I can write count equals to count plus 1, right? And then the curly braces, which is the body of the loop, right? Now here I can simply write the count, or I can simply print the count. Okay, so here we can see that we are writing the initialization, base condition, and the updation part all in the same line. So if I run this program, I'll again get all the first 50 natural numbers separated by a single space, right? So basically this is the third type of loop that we have. And it's a better practice to write count plus plus instead of writing count equals to count plus 1. So this would also give us the same result, right? Now let's say you made a mistake. You wrote count is greater than 0 instead of writing count is less than or equals to 50. Now what will happen this time is, initially count is 1. It will check whether count is greater than 0 or not. So count is 1. 1 is greater than 0. Hence this condition is true. So it will go inside the loop. It will print count. Count is 1. So it will print 1. Then it will update the value of count. So now count will become 2. Again, it will check whether 2 is greater than 0 or not. 2 is greater than 0. Hence, it will again go inside the loop. So this time it will print 2. So the next time it will print 3, then 4, then 5, and so on. It will keep on printing. But one thing we can notice over here is that all these numbers are greater than 0. Right? So if I keep on incrementing the value of count, this condition, count greater than 0, would never be false. This condition would never be false. Right? So this loop will run infinite number of times. So here we can see that if we write the wrong base condition, then there are chances that my loop will run infinite number of times. So you should avoid such silly mistakes, and your base condition should stop after finite number of steps or finite number of times, right? So I should write the right base condition, which is I should be less than or equal to 50. Then my loop will run just fine. So now we have this problem, range odd. It says that you are given two numbers L and R. Print all the odd numbers between them, both inclusive. So we have to print all the odd numbers between L and R, and both are inclusive. which means that we can also print L and R along with those numbers in a single line separated by a space and in ascending order, right? So the input is basically L and R, and we have to print all the odd numbers in a single line separated by a space and in ascending order, right? Increasing order. So it is also given that L is smaller than R. So the first number is always going to be smaller than the second one, right? So we have to print all the odd numbers between these two, right? So all the odd numbers between 2 and 9 is 3, 5, and 7. Since they both are inclusive, so I can also print 9, right? So these are all the odd numbers that we have. Similarly, in this case, between 3 and 4, the odd numbers that we have is only 3, right? So let's just submit our code. So switch to IDE mode. So firstly, I have to take input for two numbers. So I'll write int L, or I'll create two variables, int L and R, right? Then I'll write C in L and C in R to store the two numbers. Alternatively, I can also write it as C in L R, right? On one line. So we can also write as C in LR in one line instead of writing these two on two separate lines, right? After this, we know that L is smaller, so I'll use a loop which starts from L. I'll use a loop which starts from L and which goes till R, right? So I plus plus. So this loop starts from L and it goes till R. Since L is smaller, so we are starting from smaller and we are going towards the bigger one, right? So this has to be in ascending order. After that, I'll check whether my number is odd or not. So I is basically my number. I'll check whether it is odd or not. So for odd, I'll use if I mod 2 is not equals to 0. Because if I mod 2 is equals to 0, then it means it is even. So I mod 2 not equals to 0 means it is odd, right? So this is to check whether it is odd or not. So if my condition is true, I'll simply print cout I, then a space, right? In double quotes. So if let's say my input is 3 and 15, so it would print all the odd numbers starting from 3 and ending at 15, right? So all the odd numbers starting from 3 ending at 15 are these numbers, right? And similarly, if let's say my input is 4 and 15, then this time it would start from 5 and it would end at 15, right? So it starts from 5 and it ended at 15, right? So let's just submit the code. So now my code would be verified with different types of test cases. So it is going to be run amongst different test cases, or it is going to run on different test cases, right? So here I'll get my output whether my code is correct or not. So I got the correct answer, right?